So what you were just saying, it was really cool to me because when I was talking to Brooks about Cain, he said something very fascinating to me. In the biblical tradition, Cain is the older brother of Abel.
Hmm.
And when if I'm not mistaken, when Cain does kill Abel, God asks Cain, "Hey, where's your brother?" And Cain says to God in the biblical tradition, "Well, I don't know, I'm not his keeper." But it turns out that actually, yes, he is his keeper. He's his older brother. It's kind of like that idea of the Khalifa, the shepherd to the sheep. Like that's what it is. It's incumbent, the incumbent person, right? I don't know, I'm forgetting the meaning of incumbent, but we have rights on other people, right? And so what Brooks was telling me was the thing about Cain, which is so fascinating, is one of the sins about Cain that we can even see in ourselves is neglect, neglecting others, and also self-neglect. And I thought that was very deep. And that ties into arrogance. When you're arrogant, you are neglecting others. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, absolutely. You're neglecting, and you're also neglecting some of the best parts of yourself, I would say.
Well, I'm curious about that because I feel like when you're arrogant, you try to hype up the best parts of yourself. But what do you mean by neglect the best parts of yourself?
Because probably like one of the best parts about humans is our constant innate potential for growth and for change and to and to make good come about. And and when you become arrogant, you neglect just that. Like I said, you stop looking for ways to bring good to the table, to wrest this thing out of yourself and to grow and to change and to be beneficial to the people around you or even yourself. Like a lot of times, arrogant people don't get promotions, right? They don't get, and if they do, they're not as high as they could be because they refuse to try to improve because of their arrogance. Like it hinders you a lot.
It really does. It really does.
It
Yeah, it's
definitely did that for Shaitan, didn't it?
yeah, yeah. You know more Arabic, and
I know a little bit, but yeah, alhamdulillah for what I do know.
I know one of the meanings of Iblis is to be hopeless. Do you know like what the other meanings are? Iblis being the name of the devil.
Yeah, I did not know that. I didn't know that.
Like Ablasa, to be hopeless. I got that from Naman Ali Khan.
Okay. So then maybe in that case, that word may have been derived from Iblis's name.
Mhm.
Because I think Iblis was given that name uh, in all likelihood, before Arabi existed, or at least before like modern Arabi existed, right? Because of course the Quran was one of the first things that was created and written, and it was with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala before any of us were ever created. Um, but that word ablasa or like ba lam sin, that root word may have been derived from Iblis's name, the same way that the word for womb, rahim, is derived from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, no, that the word rahma is derived from rahim, which means womb.
Yeah, Imam Mahad was talking, or Ustad Sophia. She was saying
Yeah.
this last night. What you just said, that's so cool.
Yeah. There's another Sahih hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something to the effect of that this attribute of mine, Ar-Rahman, has been derived from Rahama, which is womb. And the reason for that is because
I
the
think
womb.
it's the other way around what you just said.
Really,
The
you sure?
boom is derived from the mercy.
Okay, then let me see on that because this is pretty important. If I get this wrong, it's not good.
Yeah, it's all good. I think that's what she said last night. She was talking about this, what you're saying about the womb, and she was like, um,
Oh yeah, no. So here's I am Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa ana Rahman. I created the womb, Rahim, and I have given it a name derived from my own name. Okay,
hmm,
is the other way around.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. The same way.
What is the Arabic for arrogance?
Kibr.
And do you know any other interesting like derivatives in the Arabic language that come from that?
Um, it comes from the same root word that kabir or akbar comes from.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So you can I'm sure you can see that one of Allah's attributes is al-kabir, and also for the adhan and for the iqama, and when we start the prayer, what is the first thing we say? We say,
Allahu Akbar.
yeah, correct. What does that mean?
Means God is greater than anything
Correct.
before you. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
so it's interesting that those two things come from the same root word because it's almost like they're related to each other, but when kibr is applied to humans and to Allah, like the inverse happens each time. So when kibr is applied to Allah, it's good because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kabir. He is the greatest thing. Um, and he is ultimately greater than any one of us, families, friends, universities, books, institutions, companies, earth, like the whole thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater than anything your mind can imagine. Um,
Yeah. The deity, the deity.
yeah,
And what you just said, it reminds me of something that you had shared with me once that I thought was pretty hopeful. You had said to me that, even if I don't think I'm capable,
mm,
God, because of God, I am capable. Or
yeah,
something along those lines. Can you share
yeah.
that?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much what I said. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was the
Yeah.
essence, at least. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a very hopeful thing where it's like it's kind of like even if you don't believe in yourself, you have to believe in yourself because the
because
reality
of
is,
Allah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, there was another thing I wanted to discuss with you, which was once some time ago, we touched on the Tao Te Ching, but we never really discussed
yeah.
it in depth. I'm curious, is there anything from the Tao Te Ching
Ooh.
that really draws your attention or
Yeah,
your
for
main
sure,
focus?
for sure. I would highly recommend any person, and definitely including Muslims, actually, uh, to read Tao Te Ching. I think it's a great book for Muslims to read in particular as well, because there's a lot of um, like what the the original author of the book. What is he called? I forgot.
His name, well,
What's
supposedly
his
it's
name?
Lao
Is it Lao
Tzu.
Tzu? There it
Supposedly,
is. Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
But there's still like contention. Like people are like, oh well, actually we don't really know, but we kind of just
Mhm.
put on the name Lao Tzu that this is the
Yeah,
man that wrote it.
yeah. But what Tao Te Ching essentially tries to do is, um, if if we start with like zero pre-existing notions, zero anything, if we just start from a completely blank slate, what are some fundamental truths about this reality that become apparent whenever you enter that space or whenever you come from that standpoint? Um, and from that, as unsurprisingly, a lot of wisdom emerges, right? You get a lot of uh, interesting ideas and things that you don't think of otherwise because uh, as humans, our minds are burdened with our sort of pre-existing ideas about the nature of ourselves and the nature of reality. Um, and so we tend to see everything through that. almost ever, if at all, removing those things to have a different lens. And so what Tao Te Ching tries to do is it uh, tries to remove all of that for the entire duration of the book, and for the entire duration of like attempting to uh, derive its ideas.
But is there anything in particular from it that you still carry with you? They're like, oh yeah, I think about that.
I can't really remember. If you might, there definitely were things for sure, but if you want to remember, I can't really remember specifics because it was a long time since I've read the book. I haven't opened it or read a word from it in over a year. So if you want to, I can actually go get it. I still have the copy. I can go get it.
If you want to.
I can't, but I'm not sure if like I want to interrupt this recording.
Yeah, it's up to you. But the only reason I brought that up was because
You can
I
also
would
borrow
say,
it if you want. I'll bring it to you next time I'm on campus, which will
oh,
probably.
thank you. Thank you. I actually have a copy, but thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but um the reason I brought it up, in contrast to you, I actually am not too fond of the book. Like it's interesting, but it wasn't really my rhythm personally.
Really
But there is one thing about it
interesting. Okay.
that I still like keep in mind.
Okay.
There's this part where it's written about how when something is difficult, approach it as if it's difficult. Be cautious, be prepared. And I thought that was very profound because there have been moments in my life where it's like, oh yeah, that exam, I got this. Like, I'm a wizard. I don't really need to prepare for that. And then the exam comes, like, oh my God, And it's like, so that advice of when something is difficult, be cautious, be prepared, treat it like a difficult thing. That's the only thing that carried with me. And what I think is so powerful about that as well is you can tie that in with arrogance in the sense that um it's a difficult thing. To be humble, it's a difficult thing. And so be prepared for when the ego tries to attack you, when it tries to seduce
Mm,
you. I just
yeah.
think that's very fascinating. Don't wave it off like, oh yeah, I know arrogance is a thing. I don't need to worry about it. I'll be humble. I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of putting it. I think that's definitely a great lesson to be gleaned from that. I think, I mean, subhanallah, I can I can attest to the truth of that through personal experience because a lot of the times, like sometimes I will say to someone that um, okay, I'll say to someone, okay, I'm gonna go do this thing and I'm gonna go do it like right now. Um, and then and then I'll think to myself, you want to say inshallah? And I'll think, no, because I'm doing it right now. And I go off and I don't do it. It doesn't happen.
Dude, so deep. So
And
deep.
the only times that ever occurs is whenever I don't say inshallah to something that I'm gonna do. SubhanAllah. Like um and this is not an exaggeration. Like I'm being dead serious when I say that the only time this ever happens is when I do not say inshallah. The ayah in Surah Al-Kahf says, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا. Do not say about a thing, I will do this غدا. And غدا is like a lot of, usually like when people say it, they mean tomorrow. But غدا can also just mean like, later or at a later time.
Mm.
Um, and then the next ayah says, إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Except that you say with it, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills.
Yeah.
وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ. And remember your Lord if you forgot. وَقُلْ عَسَىٰ أَن يَهْدِيَنِي رَبِّي لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا رَشَدًا. And say, it may be that my Lord will guide me to um, Rashad as, really interesting and profound word, but it basically means like that it's literally saying that perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide me to a path that is more rightly guided than this, i.e. the one that I'm.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. It's
I can
awesome.
relate to that as well, right? Like I tried to make a deliberate effort in saying inshallah for the things. It's I feel like yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Well, another
Yeah.
thing that came into my mind, it's just totally random, but Matthew McConaughey, he was in conversation with Jordan Peterson one time, and he said, "Say la vie, inshallah." It was just so funny to hear him say that. But you had said something that inspired something, or remember your Lord. There's this idea in the
Hold
Muslim.
on a second. Before you go any further, I will say, as someone who speaks Arabic and French in the same sentence because I'm Tunisian, I don't recommend it to anybody. Don't do it. Don't do it if you don't have to, and you never really have to. Okay,
Oh
I
my
really
God.
should just go. I really should just go to Tunis and just speak in Fusha, like no French whatsoever.
That was such a hilarious connection there. I did not see that coming. Damn. Yeah, that's cool, bro. That's cool. Um,
Just keep going. Sorry.
no, you're good. I like that. Uh, there's that thing in the Quran where if you forget God, God makes you forget yourself or something like that. I know
Oh
there's a line.
yeah,
It's something deep to me.
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? You have any experiences with that? Because I certainly do.
Ooh. Yeah, I think. Let me see if I can't find out exactly what the ayah says because. um,
Are you a Harry Potter fan, by the way?
Why do you ask?
I was just thinking about Dementors. I was like, huh? I wonder if this man knows
Okay,
about
so
Dementors.
here we go. So uh, in Surah Al-Hashr, verse 19, the translation says, "Not be like those who forgot Allah, and so He caused them to forget themselves." Um, and I think it's a really really interesting ayah, and just like almost anything in the Quran, you have to kind of go, you have to kind of think about it a little bit deeply in order to glean its full meaning. I feel like. So first of all, something you'll notice is that um, the first thing that people forget about is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they forget themselves, not the other way around. So it doesn't go that, so the sequence doesn't go that you forget yourself and then forget Allah. You forget Allah, and then from that causes you to forget yourself.
Yeah, I met a convert yesterday, Ryan, and he was telling me something
May
interesting.
Allah guide him.
Yeah, he was very cool. He had like this Viking hairstyle and everything. And he was
Yes.
saying that um essentially what we're talking about, where he didn't really know God. And so what ended up happening was it was just pieces of the world, pieces of other people that had latched onto him. It became his identity. And he realized that the thing that made him a Muslim was, whoa, like I have a fitra. I have a nature that's innate within me. I had to recognize
Oh,
that and shed off all those other pieces that were put onto me. And it was through that he remembered God. And I thought it was fascinating.
that's amazing, subhanAllah. This is one of the reasons I love hearing the stories of reverts because like all of them uh, they tend to usually have like this one thing in particular that made them really realize that Islam is the truth. And it's always really fascinating to find out what those things are for each of them, because I think there's a lot that like lifelong Muslims can learn about their deen from that.
True. Very true.
I love that. That's amazing, mashallah. And I really like
Yeah.
that idea that um, you know, of remembering the fitrah, remembering that you have this um, innate self that and this innate nature that nothing can really touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming at a close again. You got anything on
Yeah.
your mind?
Um, I think that ayah that you brought up was really profound. In sort of Hashd, I forgot about it, but that's also a very, very profound ayah. So I would encourage you to. By the way, a lot of these things that I say about the ayahs of the Quran, they come about from this thing called tadabbur, which is an Arabic word for basically like contemplation or reflection,
Mm.
whereby you read an ayah of the Quran and then you really try to glean and understand its meaning. Um, if you and this should not be like doing it absolutely should never make you think that, oh, I must be like dumb if I don't understand the ayah immediately. The Sahaba used to spend all night discussing ayahs of the Quran. Sometimes one ayah they would spend several hours on it
Yeah.
because they love doing it so much and because they glean so much meaning from it. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I love most about the Quran is that um, its minimal language is um, creates a good double-edged sword, if you will. Because on the one hand, it makes it so that it's relatively concise. If you look at the Torah, the Bible, um, or the Jewish Bible, you know, it's very verbose. There's a lot of like small details and numbers and names uh, and all sorts of things that it just like it makes it extremely dense and difficult for your mind to hold all of those elements at once. The Quran throws all of that out the window so that it can focus on delivering you the meaning of those same stories in as concise a manner as possible.
The brevity. Yeah.
What does brevity mean? Please tell me.
It's like, for lack of better words, brief. The sort of
Oh
briefness,
yeah,
but
yes,
concise,
that makes
articulate.
sense.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
The most articulate. Yeah. That's another way.
yes. So
Interesting.
its brevity makes it a minimal and simple read that is focused on meaning. And then, of course, the other edge of the sword is the meaning itself, which is that um, not only does the Quran focus on delivering meaning rather than a bunch of facts and information, um, the minimal language of the Quran and also the nature of the Arabic language, its structure as where every word is derived from a 2 or 3 letter root word, makes it so that in these uh, concise ayats, there's so much meaning encapsulated in each one of them, in each word, sometimes in each letter, that you could pore over each one for hours.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
that's one of my favorite things, hands down, about the Quran, and that just
Yeah.
show the wisdom of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala.
And come to think of it, I feel like almost every conversation I've had with you, this has just been like your natural inclination. Like this is just the sort of stuff you
It
bring up, which
is.
I think it's
It actually
cool.
is. You're absolutely right
It's
about
very
that.
cool.
Yeah,
I don't think I know too many people that are like that. So it's definitely very rare, very unique. It's cool. I applaud you for that.
appreciate that, Allah. Thank you. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
my natural inclination. Actually, you're absolutely right. Like even from when I was a kid, I you know I would think very deeply about just about anything and everything. And the reason for that is because that's how I've always been, and it has made me different because it's one of the things that comes from my autism diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is like now usually referred to as like high functioning autism spectrum disorder. So now autism and Asperger's have been combined into autism spectrum, which is like basically how severe its effects on your motor skills and development are. Um, and so in my case, uh, one of the ways that it sort of differentiated me from other people was that it gave me this natural propensity to um, to always like think as deeply as possible about things. And
That's
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's to your detriment because sometimes like it's really not that deep, and it would be better for me to just uh, shut off that analytical part of my mind and focus on like and just like keep whatever I'm dealing with like simple and shallow as possible. But in the case of the Quran, it helps because it helps me because uh because I'm like naturally inclined to want to understand as deeply as possible every ayah that I read.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the point. That's the point of it.
Yeah, yeah, I know for sure. There's just one thing I wanted to mention before we end this.
Yeah.
There's a line that I had written, and it's derived from something that I had read from Marcus Aurelius. And the line goes, "Take no pleasure in thy dullness." And
And
I
I
think that's cool. In thy dullness, in your
oh
dullness.
dullness.
Yeah. And it just goes back to the idea of there's a
I like
duty
that.
upon us all. There's a responsibility. We should take it more seriously. We should recognize it.
Yeah.
And that really ties in with everything we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
it's been cool. It's been
Yeah,
cool
man.
once more.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end this one.
All right. Take care, man.
Thanks, man. You too.